So in review, this muscle that we learned in the arm is the brachioradialis. Just lateral to the brachioradialis is the extensor carpi radialis longus muscle, and then the extensor carpi radialis brevis. And brevis just means short in Latin. So the brevis muscle has a shorter tendon than the longus muscle. And then the muscle next to them is the extensor digitorum muscle. And this muscle crosses over the wrist joint, so it extends the wrist, but it also extends down into the digits. So you can see how this muscle goes all the way down to the distal phalanx. So it has an action on the DIP joint, the PIP joint, and the MP joint. So digits 2 through 5 are affected by the extensor digitorum. And the last muscle of this group is the extensor carpi ulnaris. And this, just like all the others, has its origin near the lateral epicondyle, and its insertion is in the carpal region near the pinky. So anything near the pinky again is considered ulnar. So extensor carpi ulnaris. And this muscle acts to extend and adduct the wrist. So adduction looks like this. It is bringing the pinky in close to the body. And that is adduction of the wrist. The next 3 muscles that we're going to look at are movers of the thumb. So the first is the abductor pollicis longus. And it is this muscle right here. So you can see its muscle belly peeking out between the extensor digitorum and the extensor carpi radialis brevis. So you can see that its insertion is on the thumb, but it doesn't go all the way down the thumb. So it can only affect the joint between the carpals and the metacarpals. And it abducts that joint. So it abducts the thumb away from the midline. And it is a weak wrist extender. You can see that it would not have much leverage and effect on wrist flexion by its placement. The next muscle is the extensor pollicis brevis. And this muscle goes down a little bit further on the thumb. So because of its insertion, this can extend the thumb at the MP joint. And it is a weak hand extensor as well. The last of these 3 thumb muscles is the extensor pollicis longus. And you can see how long the tendon is on this muscle. In fact, the tendon goes all the way to the tip of the thumb. So this muscle, when it contracts, can cause extension of the thumb all the way down to the IP joint. So this joint right here on the thumb is the MP joint, and this is the IP joint, since we don't have that third joint like we have in digits 2 through 5. And the last muscle of this group is the supinator. And in order to get to the supinator, I have to go very deep in the forearm. In fact, the supinator literally wraps itself around the radius. And the supinator's action is to supinate the forearm. So this is what supination looks like. So supination is when you're going from a position where your palm is facing posteriorly and bringing it around to face anterior. So if your hand was facing backward and you brought it back to the front, that would be supination. So this is pronation and supination. Again, that is pronation with the hand facing back and supination with the palms up. So question number 5 is, what two muscles work together to supinate the forearm? So you can see one of the muscles here, the supinator, and the other muscle is the biceps brachii. So number 5, which two muscles work together to supinate the forearm? The last structure on the extensors is this band of connective tissue that holds down all the tendons in the extensor muscles. And this is called the extensor retinaculum. And you can see that it actually does form a complete circle around the wrist. But when it is on the anterior side, it is called something different. So on the posterior side, it is the extensor retinaculum.